Welcome to the first ADHD breakdown. I especially bought one of these mics, so let's see if it works. Today I'm going to talk about my last release, which is the DAYDREAM22. I'm part of the VA alongside a very talented artist as well. It's a VA and it will come out later this year. So let's get into it. One of the key points I would like to share is knowing that if your kick and your bass does not match correctly, you will find some difficulties over time. So for me, it's actually the very first thing I'd like to work on, and it's always starting a track with a kick and the bass. Very simple bass line that worked out well with this kick. You see it has a low energy around 67 Hertz. So I'm dipping it at the same range on the bass. So there's room between both. Also a little bit on the 20K region, a little bit more on the 600, just to shape it a little bit around each other. Let's start with the perk. Up. Okay, so the snare with the reverb on it. Normally on the most recent tracks I do it through a send-in return, that's why I was a bit confused. So for this track I put it directly on the channel itself, and some LFO on the size of the reverb, just to have a variation inside. Channels of a lot of elements, they do have unnecessary frequencies, which needs to be cleaned up, because otherwise you will have an accumulation of frequencies and then your track gets muddy really easily, and you would like to avoid that. Actually, it's very important. Let's focus on the heads. Simple swing. Okay. The right, let's shut it off. Okay, what is this? Of course. Phasing. Just a little detail, nothing too special. I think I made this decision because it opened up compared with the others. So this line of head would be above all the rest. I think that's why I chose to use this one. Same for this EQ. Let's open it. Same for this. Yeah, more or less around 100. Okay, up. What is this? No EQ on this. Let's try it again. It's an important element, but not that important. So depending of the importance of the channel, I would try to EQ it a little bit more or a little bit less. It's a layer, so it's not. People won't see the difference if it's EQ'd like 50 or 100 hertz more or less, you know. So just for, well, anyway, let's move on. Sometimes I need some time to think and to come up on my words, but it's not that easy because I'm not an Englishman or an American like most of the streamers. I'm just a regular producer from Belgium. Anyway, head layer. Shaker, nice. Also a layer of okay, so there's a difference between the EQ when it's on and off. Also, not all elements have to be EQ'd the same way, otherwise you will have the same problem, because they all will fight for the region. So some can have a little bit more EQ, some a little bit less. It's fine. It's about how you'd like to sound. Okay, the open head. Okay, let's open this one. Okay. Yeah, that's the spring reverb I was talking about earlier. Voilà, the rides. Basic. Over here at the break, they will switch between each other. So first the low one, then probably the higher one. Even lower. Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay. Voilà. So just a playful moment between both of them. And then the open head, which is actually the most important of all the drums. For me, it was this one. Let's listen to it. Up. I use an auto filter on it just to create some tension in the magnetic. That's actually my favorite VST out of all. They are very good for the creative process. Sometimes you will have very interesting sounds coming out of it. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but let's open it up. Aha, here we go. So you have the type of characters you can choose. You have a built-in reverb. You have a built-in phaser, chorus, and flanger. You have the echo. You have the feedback, which is called playback in this case. And you have the dry and wet knob, the width you can choose. You can add some noise, but it only activates when it's playing. And the treble and the bass. So you have two kind of EQs you can decide to add or to turn down if necessary. The kind of heads, so the 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 3. It's actually a happy accident. What I had in the beginning. Let's open it up if I can find it. Yeah. So it was actually a basic chord like this. Super basic. This one was a variation of it, I think. Well, it must be a variation. I cannot tell why. Most of the time I just give it a color code just to differentiate them between each other, you know. So for me it's a bit of mental support, so I know what I'm doing. So if I'm watching at the chain, I have the filter SEM, which is turned off. It's actually a demo, but it doesn't matter. I guess I was browsing through the presets. I found one, and then as you can see, I mapped a couple two LFOs on one of the parameters, which created this result, which I was happy with. Okay. Also, that's when it's dry. The magnetic is doing all the job, all the work. So that's why I love it. I I like the magnetic. It's an amazing tool. Voila. So let's open it again. So for the magnetic on the lead or dubstep, I decided to put it 4 on 32. No idea why. Sometimes I'm just trying stuff out and I stick to what works. And in the end, that's all that matters. No, this one is not active. The phaser is active. Also, some spring reverb on the dubstep as well. Minor details, and the MPEGs, that's something I will mention later on. So for the chords. It's a nice tool. It's a nice tool for details, for layers, for twinkles, twinkle bells, whatever you want to call it. I think it's this. I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure it's this. So in its totality, up, break. Where's my mouse? So far simple. You just have to find the elements that works, and if it doesn't work, make it work. I mean, and if you feel it, you feel it, and if you don't feel it, you don't feel it. The music is all about this kind of things. If I'm opening this group, well, just as a side note, all of my elements, I try to structure them together. So as you can see, the drum bus, the heads together, the rides together, and the percussions together. So I have a little bit more flexibility to EQ them. To EQ them separately. I didn't do it on the perk this time. Okay, it's fine. But on the bus itself, yes. So if I hop back on the drums, just to control a little bit of the frequencies, because if you count all the channels, you have a lot of information in the low ends, and what happens in the low ends, you have the kick and the bass, so you need to make some room. So that's why I decided to use also a 24 dB slope. Push it a little bit, still 40 Hertz, not too much because I still have the tom inside. If I go too much, the tom will be affected, so we do not want that. So EQ every channel separately, EQ it together with other elements, and then EQ it once again a final time as a drum bus, just to control the frequencies as much as you can. Same as for the melody. Up. That's quite of an aggressive quite of an aggressive slope over here. Maybe I could have done it till over here, I believe. But yeah, I stick to this. No specific reason why. Sometimes it's impossible to know why. But a very important aspect as well of the track were the vocals. So let's go check this out. So basically that's it, and that's all you need, I think. So yeah, that was a small breakdown of the track. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I could help you a little bit more with some insights. If you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask them. That's what I'm here for, and that's why ADHD is here for. So yeah, I will do more of this kind of stuff in the coming months, for sure. If you have some recommendations, please feel free to ask them as well, or to tell them, to share them, whatever. If you want a specific breakdown of another track I made in the past, I will try to do it if I find the projects. So that's what's all about. I did a huge cleanup some time ago, so if we're lucky, we can find it. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video.